Billy Donovan has officially spoke out on what he expects from the current roster of the Chicago Bulls going into next game. We also have an update on the injury Patrick Williams suffered last night and how long the Iron Man will miss from action. I'm your host, Joey Mercer. This is another episode of Bulls Digest, and before we get into it there today, I just want to say that about 88% of you that watch these videos are still not subscribed, so make sure if you aren't subscribed already to go down below, hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, and you won't have to search for this content anymore. It'll be notified right to you whenever we upload to stay up to date with the Chicago Bulls. So without further ado, let's get into the first topic of today, and that is Donovan wants more consistency. So with star players out of the lineup, that's a fair thing to ask of. You know, you're going to want defensive consistency, offensive consistency. Just hope that they keep doing what they're doing that's well and don't slack off at any point in time. And that's exactly what Billy Donovan is coming out and asking of the current Chicago Bulls. They're missing Nikola Vucevic, Torrey Craig, Zach Lavine. Bidham is out right now. I believe he has a fracture in his nose or something along the lines of that, although he doesn't play anyways, but still, he is out injured. And this was the article that I'm citing here from Sports Illustrated saying Billy Donovan bats for defensive consistency from the Chicago Bulls. Donovan says the team's defense can be a bit more consistent. And I'd have to agree after that game last night against the Philadelphia 76ers. I believe we were down 31 points at halftime, which is ridiculous watching that. But came back and I believe we only lost by 13. So good job at the end there. But we need to be consistent the whole game. It just can't be, all is on Drummond, for example, guarding Embiid. There needs to be communication out there. Try to do what you can with the roster you have, and they've been doing that great lately and just didn't last night. First thing we saw in it was consistency has been a recurring issue for the Bulls over the last two seasons. However, the team found their rhythm in December where they won 9 of 14 games to rise to 15 and 19 for the season. While Kobe White, Nikola Vucevic, and DeMar DeRozan carried the offense, it was the team's defense that really stepped up during this stretch. That's something I want to quickly touch on as well, is we have really seen that without Vooch in the lineup offensively, this team has not been the same. They were very good with him there and without Lavine. So the issue doesn't seem like it was Nikola Vucevic in us helping win games, but more so Zach Lavine. Interesting to see there. Next thing we saw was as the Bulls' connectivity on the defensive end of the floor improved, so did their overall play. After starting the season ranked in the bottom 10 of defensive rating, Chicago has risen to number 15, with a rating of 114.7. As is always the question regarding the Bulls, can they keep up this defensive tenacity and effort? Well, I think they certainly can as long as Zach Lavine isn't in the lineup. I love Zach Lavine offensively. He's a superstar player in this league on the offensive end of the floor, but he just lacks effort on the defensive end, and therefore, you're not getting anything out of him on that end of the floor. I don't think that's being too harsh. The numbers are there to show it. He's so great offensively, and I won't knock him on that end at all, except a few times with turnovers. Like I said, I think he's almost a polished player perfectly on the offensive end. It's just defense. He simply does not try. The next thing we saw was fighting for consistency, Donovan said. It's really hard in this league to be consistent. And it's true. I mean, you're going up against almost the same team on different nights, some tight schedules against tough teams. You're going to have a lot of interdivision battles, of course, against different teams. Obviously, you have Indiana, the Pistons, different teams in the Central Division, of course, that they are going to face, the Cavs even. And that's not something that's going to be easy when you're facing them so often. The Pistons are not a great team, but the Pacers are really solid this year. And the Cavs hover around 500, which is still better than the record the Bulls have. So it's a real tough team to go up against, and we got a good win against them the other night. But, it just, against the 76ers last night, which we've played 2 times now in the past month, not really a great look last night. That was probably the worst game I've seen us play since Zach Lavine, went down with injury. Next thing we saw was the Bulls have a cadre of players who can excel on the defensive end. While Alex Caruso is unquestionably their best defensive player, others have potential as well. This includes young players like Patrick Williams, Ayo Dosunmu, and even Dalen Terry, who recently had 3 blocks in a game against the Indiana Pacers. I want to touch on that. Dalen Terry looked very poor to start the year. Past few games, I've been really impressed with his play. He shot poor from the field last night and only put up 6 points, but he grabbed a good few rebounds and assists. I think it was like 8 rebounds, 7 assists. He was on push for a triple-double. He also had another 3 blocks, so he looks solid on the defensive end, and he looks more mature and in touch with who he is there. I also hated on Julian Phillips a bit because in limited time he looked pretty rough as well, but he looked solid last night, albeit a lot of it was in garbage time, but there's still some, potential there for him to grow. As far as Adama Sanogo goes, that's the best game I've ever seen him play as a Chicago Bull as well. So maybe he can use some more time off the bench. Maybe we can get him about 15 minutes while Drummond's the only center on the team to take off some load off of Drummond because he can't do it all himself. I don't want to put all the blame on him because obviously he can't play 48 minutes and try to guard 2 different centers the entire night. It's just not going to happen. It's better than some of the weird lineups we were running with Terry Taylor, such as that at center. I'd rather give Sanogo at least a chance before just completely writing that off. Last thing we saw in this article was, if we could be collectively a really good defensive team, and obviously someone like Alex Caruso is elite, Nayo Dosunmu has potential, Patrick Williams has potential, DeMar DeRozan has a high IQ, but we have to be there for each other, Donovan continued. So that's a good point. I mean, there's guys on the team like DeRozan. He said he has the IQ. He doesn't always put in the effort. He didn't want to mention that, of course. But we have a lot of defensive pieces and young guys that can get things done. And they really need to get into that. That needs to be their identity. The young guys need to put in the hustle and effort. And the older guys should be able to just focus on the offensive end while helping out and telling the younger guys where to go and stepping in when need be on the defensive end. They shouldn't have to be taking all the work and then the young guys not doing much of anything. That's not the way it should be right now. And we have such a great young defensive core coming in. Next topic we're talking about today is Williams is injured. Yes, so Pat Will got injured last night against the Philadelphia 76ers. I said he's an Iron Man at the top because he played all 82 games last season, and it's not like him to go down with an injury. He has a very stoic mindset, which is why a lot of people, I think, compare him to Kawhi, the body size, that type of thing. Not similar players, though, however. But Patrick Williams has been playing solid as of late. Going down with an injury is big for us as Bulls fans. We can't afford another player out of the lineup right now, and that's another guy of our starting lineup. So the lineups are about to get funky. I'm really concerned if he doesn't play tonight against the Knicks, who they're going to run there in that starting lineup. We'll have to see. Next, and that article was actually Patrick Williams re-aggravates ankle sprain. Billy Donovan says his status for tomorrow's game is uncertain. Bulls may be severely shorthanded in their game against the Knicks. It's very accurate. I mean, right now it seems like Dalen Terry, I guess, will go into the starting lineup. I don't really know. It's really strange what this lineup might be, and we'll keep you up to date with it if there's anything more on that later on there today, as we will be putting out a second video for you guys there today, hopefully, if all goes well, and I'd like to touch on that if there is any update on it. Next thing we saw was as if the Chicago Bulls evening wasn't bad enough following their 110-97 loss to the Sixers. It got worse with the news of Patrick Williams' injured ankle, which places his availability for the game against the New York Knicks on Wednesday in doubt. And we've heard a few players so far be in doubt for a game and then it be more serious so far this year. So that's not exactly what you want to hear. It's no longer just a minor injury guaranteed. There is speculation it could be more severe and out for an extended period of time. The Bulls got pounded early by the Sixers, who got off to an early first quarter lead and never looked back. With the starters outplayed, Bulls coach Billy Donovan yanked Williams out of the game after the young forward committed a turnover and fouled Sixers wingman Kelly Oubre at the 8:28 mark. So, fair enough. He's a young guy. He needs to learn. He needs to know he's not just going to get these minutes in the league. If he's not playing well, take him out of the game, sit him, make him know what he did wasn't the right decision out there, so he can learn from these things and hopefully learn from the guys on the court what to do right when he goes back in. I agree with that. Next thing we saw was, however, after the game, Donovan clarified that the decision to sub Williams out wasn't because of his play, but his noticeable limited movement. He played some more, but eventually checked out for good with 4:22 remaining in the first half. The Florida State product finished the game with only 3 points and a rebound in 11 minutes. So you could tell that he was out there and he was definitely injured. I thought initially, as I just mentioned, that Billy Donovan took him out for that reason, that he wasn't playing great, because he wasn't. But when we looked at it more at the end of the game, kind of looked back over the game, I rewatched over it there this morning. I like to do that, kind of get a more deep dive into it to know more of what I'm talking about there on the particular game. And Patrick Williams, yeah, just didn't look like himself. In real time, you're not as focused on it, but knowing that I should have been rewatching it, I definitely could tell that he wasn't up to 100%. So good decision on Billy Donovan. Either way, if it was the way I originally thought or the way because of injury, that's good coaching right there. I have to agree with that. The last thing that we saw there was Williams revealed that he had tweaked his ankle in the match against the Indiana Pacers last week and then tried to play through it in their previous game against the Sixers last weekend. A lot of times, just the adrenaline of the game or when your body gets going, it starts to loosen up, Williams said. This time it didn't. Trying to be smart about it, the ankle or lower extremities is nothing to play with. Williams was an Iron Man, last season, playing in all 82 regular season games. He vowed to do everything he could to play on Wednesday versus the Knicks. He's got the right mindset. You can never take that away from Patrick Williams. He wants to do whatever he can to play for the team while his career is still going, and that's exactly what the kind of player that you want on your team, especially as a young guy coming up as a prospect. This has been your host, Joey Mercer. Hope you all enjoyed the episode there today. Make sure to go down below, like and comment on the video. I'd like to hear from all you guys. And make sure to sub to the channel if you aren't already and turn on that bell for notifications. We're doing lots of updates here on Bulls Digest. And we're hoping to get a second video out to you guys there today. Weather permitting, so to speak, that one will be out for you later on this evening just before the game. So I can't wait to see you in the next video. Sign off.